Mr. Suresh, it has not been a question of whether it was given. Look at Mumbai, it got the lion's share of JNNURM1. But where is Mumbai? Has Mumbai really turned itself around? So it's probably a question of, most of the panelists here have been complaining that it's a question of implementation, not planning or lack of resources, but a question of implementation of what you've actually given out in the budgets.
Yeah. Correct.
Is there something we could have expected where implementation itself could have got a boost? Maybe the skills development. I think one of our panelists mentioned that the skills development and the 10,000 rupee dole that has come, could it be linked to the implementation and execution of the project rather than simply, as a dole?
I agree with you. I think there's clear potential. And possibly, I suggest that use that 12,000 crores as a corpus and bring the public-private partnership scheme along with that. Then you can leverage that and make it into maybe 3 times or 4 times or 5 times money. If you are getting only for one area and doing for by the local water board or sewer board or road development one, and separate PPP is done for the rail, metro rail and all that. That's not catching up. That really would have been good.
Right. Mr. Suresh, please stay with us. I'm going to open it back to my panelists sitting in the room.
Before you do that, I don't know whether you got the feedback on any property more than 50 lakhs, you have to pay the 1% TDS.
Yes, I believe chartered accountants can rejoice and the consumers can bemoan that.
But you're the consumer. Basically, you're building your house. How do you like that? The additional cost coming, service tax. The business would not have to pay. But at the end of the day, it only makes the Aam Aadmi pay that amount.
Yes, absolutely.
You take care of the service tax, you take care of the building cost, you take care of the excise duty, because all of them are going to come on the shoulder of the, finally the allotee, isn't it?
That's right, the consumer. The consumer will be paying more.
But the 1% also you have to pay.
Yes, and as a TDS.
Yeah, the deducted source was given over there.
Absolutely. Mr. Suresh, the rest...
Transaction more than 50 lakhs. Okay, that's it. Okay.
Right. Mr. Suresh, some of the panelists would like to get back.
I just want to make 2 points in that.
Yeah.
We talked about the problems aspect of it, and you spoke about the land supply issue in that. When we look at it, the solutions lie with us only.
Right.
And solutions will not come out from outside.
Right.
And we have unique problems and unique issues in that. And when we look at it, some of the states aspect of it, if I just talk about one scheme which Rajasthan government runs in that, saying affordable housing, it's a one state which has it in policy as well.
Right.
And it has gone ahead and done some implementation effort on that. And when you get, so when you are developing it on your own land, or when you're developing it on a government provided land, you get higher FSI. And you clearly are able to, use that to the advantage aspect of it, to say that I will build land for the economically weaker section. That is the only way the land cost will get lower.
Right.
And you will also be able to build the other aspect of it.
Right.
A developer like Dr. Sharma would, cannot ignore that opportunity if it's lying as an opportunity.
Right.
Same for, I would say, for either aspect of it also. You have to make it viable.
Yeah.
If you're not making it viable, and it's not a responsibility or a problem, of a developer to provide housing to the masses.
Right.
It is the responsibility of the government. But when this issue is not getting resolved, they need to come back and open and say that, okay, how do we make it possible? Right. Some of these steps have been taken as well. There's so much of land which is there with the government agencies only at the current time. In a prime estate, within the middle of a full bustling city, you've got a large parcels of land which are just not getting utilized.
Right.
Inefficient utilization for some government offices or government quarters or other aspects of it. It was relevant at one point in time, but you have to make a rejuvenation of the city and relook at it there.
Case for redevelopment.
Case for redevelopment in that.
Or should there be a disincentive for unproductive land?
Yeah. Now also, when you're providing land outside of the city, again, if you've, as part of a master plan, if you've gone ahead and done that, then connectivity is your responsibility.
Right.
If you don't get that connectivity in, even a person who can afford, let's say, a smaller kind of a living in that, he will go there. But if he doesn't have connectivity, how will he go about it?
Absolutely.
What is the approach that we have got?
We actually had a discussion with Credai Chennai, the Times Group and Credai Chennai. And last week, the last month, this was the issue that they raised, that we have land parcels far away from the city, but if you don't connect it, we are not even, we may even be able to sell it to investors, but that end users never really going to come there. Maybe that is where affordability lies, far far away from the city. But shouldn't the government be putting the transport infrastructure so that it could actually become productive land?
Yeah. And lastly, I mean, you spoke about implementation. Implementation, something, I mean, the kind of infrastructure investment we've seen, even we may say whatever, in terms of, that we've not achieved enough, but still what we've done in the last 5 or 10 years is really ahead of what we have done in the last 50 years. So, and to be able to now, be able to cater to even further growing requirements, we cannot approach it with a traditional mindset.
Right.
It has to, we have to have scientific methods of, even project management aspect of it, and it has to be a combination. The government, the contractor, developer, everything has to come together, and the government also needs to have run it like a program. It's a program of different projects going together. How do we ensure that there is enough monitoring happening, and how the entire thing comes up?
Is the solution within the annual budget, or should we now wait for the state budgets and actually continue lobbying with the states? Because real estate actually is a state subject.
Land is a state subject.
Land is a state subject, and if land is a state subject, shouldn't the solutions also be aggressively pushed with the state governments? Like you said, Rajasthan has a good affordable housing policy.
Yeah, exactly.
Could that policy not be replicated in other states?
See, there is the Bombay the slum redevelopment scheme, which could perhaps is being touted as one of the solutions to the urban problem in Bombay.
Yeah.
But look at the implementation. I mean, it's really
Any
any project that's taken up is stuck up in so much of paperwork and so much of bureaucracy that it's become. I mean, it's not looked at as a very attractive source. Whereas
And the word
actually
that
it can
you
be.
used, viable, the government is coming up with schemes which the developers are saying is simply not viable.
That's right.
If I'm going through all of this trouble to redevelop a slum, rehabilitate them, you're just not giving me enough in return, and that has been one of the problems. I want your response to what Mr. Verma said about he believes that what the government has done will actually turn fence sitters into buyers in a market where the buyer sentiment has been as low as the developer sentiment, if not lower. Do you actually agree that this can actually turn fence sitters into buyers?
Yeah, I feel these policies, if you look on the exactly on the policies, so the policies aren't bad.
Okay.
The policies they have made for this redevelopment, we were involved in that also.
Okay.
And in, rightly said by Mr. Neeraj in Rajasthan, and now even the Haryana government is coming up with policies for the Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Some policies are like that. So the policies in self, the state policies which state is making are not bad though.
Okay.
The policy they are making is fine, but I personally feel the process where it lies, the execution part where it lies, there it lacks.
Yeah.
Because the kind of support a developer requires from the government. See, if anybody like a developer is going for some places for somebody's help or supporting or for affordable housing or for any other housing, he but of course would require something to pull in, something like as in the financially support. But if you are not going to give him that additional help or additional support, might be from approvals, might be from land acquisition, might be for getting it done via the connectivity. There are so many other perspectives on it. It won't be possible. There are so many places where schemes haven't flourished. They have just started, but they could not move on. They are in a very, very slow pace. Very slow pace. Even the papers are stuck somewhere in between. At times we really try to find out where are those papers. So they'll say, okay, it's under the process. So this process does not complete. Otherwise, I really feel the schemes are fine. So if the state government take it on their own shoulder and they say, okay, right, we're going to change it. So I really feel it can happen. It can really happen.
Are you seeing the state governments actually saying that never mind the annual budget, never mind what the central government is doing, but in my state I would like to do that? Are you seeing that happening in the states?
If they want, they can really do that.
So it's too early to be able to kind of comment on that.
Right.
On the state. But
Right.
if we look at the central budget and in terms of the whatever announcements have happened today in terms of turning fence sitters into buyers, I don't really see that. And to be able to kind of compliment Mr. Suresh in terms of what he said, pretty much the 18 million demand, if you try to break it up, there is a demand of almost 45 lakh homes in the category which is 30 lakhs and above.
Yeah.
And there is nothing in the budget which kind of caters to that demand, which is pretty much the demand in the top 20 cities.
That's right.
So I don't think the central budget would be able to cater to that. Of course, we can look forward to the state budgets to see if there is anything.
And do you agree with the
forthcoming.
math that Mr. Verma put forth that, oh, this 2,000 crores, it's not to be looked at in entirety, it's just part of a bigger umbrella. Do you agree to that logic?
It is a refinance.
It is a refinance kind of a thing, and we are looking at an NP of 2% and kind of tying up the math to say that 40,000 crores is available. But as you know, Mr. Suresh shared, there is hardly that much, that has been disbursed in the last few years. So, whether that's available or not is,
Yeah.
To kind of directly answer the...
That amount that he indicated is only to take up loans up to 5 lakhs and 6 or maybe 6 lakhs for including low-income housing. In case those assets, they are not bankable, very difficult for them to get the loan. But if loans have been given, if any defaults come, NPA of 2% if it comes is fantastic. But their worry is NPA is higher, about 10 to 15% is coming for those individual loans of EWS and LIT. So this guarantee, credit guarantee amount earlier created is further expanding another 2,000 crores. So even if you take that, that's a small component. I don't expect this 2,000 crores from the urban housing can bring in a loan portfolio of 60,000 crores. It's quite far-fetched.
Okay, but in the context of what we have, what the finance minister has given, a quick take from everybody on what you think 2013-14, the real estate and infrastructure scenario is. Mr. Suresh, what do you expect in... Yes, please. A quick response. What is the...
My point is, housing and infrastructure development would continue to grow because of the sheer size of the demand.
Yeah.
But not because budget has helped us do that. Budget has not helped us do that, excepting for houses which are up to, say, about 30 to 40 lakhs. There is the intervention coming on that. But in terms of the urban infrastructure and other related components, we require directed funds out of the 50,000 crores for infrastructure tax-free bond to get into this particular sector and not the other sector alone, namely the core sector. That's what we should work on.
Right.
And a lot of effort we should do for getting the land pool to be created for expanding that on the lines of the models of the DMIC model or the other new townships. You look at about 500 generators economic movement cities, gems, 500 gems like Charles Korea said, not 5 or 6 the way it was told in the budget today. Okay?
Right. Thank you, Mr. Suresh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madhav?
Yeah, on the infrastructure side, I think my view is that the government is serious about pushing infrastructure with the announcement of the road regulatory authority. And similarly, there have been some announcements on the power side, which were really the two big infrastructure sectors which were railing. So I'm expecting that the infrastructure sector is going to get a push. Along with that, also the thrust on the entire bond market and the infrastructure bonds.
Right.
On the real estate side, I really don't expect a great show unless there are some policy announcements which will ease out funding.
Right.
I think that's really the bane of the sector.
And those announcements have to come from the center or from the center and the states?
It's largely the center from a funding perspective.
Yeah.
More from an operational perspective, it's more the state. So implementation is more with the state.
Right. So
I would really think because as all of us have already discussed, the budget hasn't really supported real estate so much. But I really see, as I can foresee the future, the demand is still in the market. And even if you see in the tier 1 cities, tier 2 cities, it's constantly going up.
yeah.
So I really feel that it would really go up. And if somebody, as he rightly said, if somebody can really help, we can get a good support from central or from state government with some good policies or some budget fetching things. So I really think it will go up.
But you haven't got it in the budget. So considering what you have got in the budget, what do you see 2013-14 as? Gloom or positive?
I would still say it would be positive.
Actually, it's a mixed bag,
Yeah.
in the sense that I expect policies going forward before the next general election to be favorable to address one of the concerns, which is the shortage of funds faced by the real estate players as well as infrastructure. I think that will ease out. It's not connected with the budget because RBI would come out with circulars or DIPP would come out with circulars. So that's one part. And infrastructure, I think this government is serious. And if things...
Even if that gets addressed, is part of the problem solved, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Prashan?
So I would agree with the entire panel in terms of the response to the budget. So I don't think there's anything drastically positive that the sector will witness because of the budget. But of course, given the demand is in place and the state governments, if they make land available to the developers where, the supply comes in the market, then, we should see a healthy 2013-14 for the housing sector.
Right. Dr. Sharma?
When we go to the figures, still there is a huge gap between demand and supply. And regions are enormous. Only budget can't resolve it, I'd say. Real estate has got one bad thing in it, that they have to hang between the policy of state government and central government.
That's right.
If they do not have compatibility, they suffer is the real estate. Because soft target. Number two, I'll tell you.
I like that phrase.
Number two, I'll tell you. There are a lot of, in India, we do not have a homogeneous bylaws, laws, land laws, taxation and everything, I'll tell you. Rajasthan has got something different, UP has got something different, but a developer who is working in different states, we are working in more than 13 states. So we can see the sharp changes in the policy and where you suffer.
Right.
See, budget is brought by Government of India, okay? What are our expectations from the budget? We do not want inflation, in particular building materials.
Right.
That is totally guided by the budgetary provisions. This service tax or sales tax or VAT, what's blah blah. So if these things are impacted, the building material cost goes up.
Right.
So this time at least, thank God, that the impact of the budget is not going to start from tomorrow morning. That okay, cement supplier says, sir, there is no cement, I will give you after 15 days.
Glass is half full.
Glass is half full. But still, we are even waiting for the state budgets.
Yes.
I'll tell you, see,
Yes.
in Haryana, recent case in Haryana, they have enormously raised IDC and EDC. More than 70% from retrospective date.
Yes.
See, when you have already delivered the product, the people, common man, they are staying in their homes, living in their homes. Can you go and tell them that you pay IDC and EDC? Or if some developer has already forgotten the project, delivered, eaten all profits, how come he is going to pay the EDC? See, so this is not a central subject, not the budgetary subject, but this is a subject of the state budget, because they want to enhance their, this one, exchequer and everything. So these are the major problems. And as you told, the cost of the land, facility of the land, very simple theory. You can compare Noida and Greater Noida with the rest of India. Noida has nothing to do with there. They don't have any golden, mines, gold mines. They only took a very pretty intelligent decision that let me go for a good infrastructure, good planning first. Then let us enhance the density and FAR of the area. So land cost got diluted.
And amortize it over a period of time, right?
Yes,
The land
and
cost.
when the whole of Indian realty sector was suffering from the global meltdown, that time they give an annuity.
Yeah.
It is a good bull. Otherwise, you would have not seen thousands number of units being developed and always sold out.
Right.
If in Noida you go and ask ready to move in flat, I don't think you will get in first go.
Right.
You have to search a lot and then at least I don't have.
Right.
So it means they have catered the need of the people. If you don't have supply, people say that rentals. See, supply is also directly proportional to that availability.
Right.
If you don't construct, from where you will give the rental?
Right.
So supply is the main issue.
Right.
And thirdly, I would like to say, regarding the urban infrastructure, first I told, given the example of this, you take the example of Indore, take the example of Gwalior, take the example of Jaipur, Take the example of Bhubaneswar or even Chennai or Bangalore. See what is common in them? Common in them is they have made a peripheral road which is called express highways of 8 lane or 4 lane or whatsoever. And the traditional city has started shifting towards along those roads.
And planned.
And planned. Certain government which is intelligent, they planned earlier. In Madhya Pradesh, if you go, you can't even build a city in a village area, in rural area. No, they have got a planning system, country and planning department, who will regulate you as well. Number one. Number two, they have a distinct policy in their planning norm that you have to go for EWS housing. Otherwise, they will not give you completion. You have to give a certificate to the collector or SDM that we are also constructing this. Show them the earmark, and that particular portion will be mortgaged to the government, so that you can't mortgage even to the bank. So a system it already existing from so long. So
which means that the solutions are there, exist in the country. It's just a question of implementing it across.
See, there are state laws on property tax, there is state law on change of land use, there is state laws on stamp duty, and some of it is mind-boggling. If anybody is able to understand the entire country, he becomes a genius, or he becomes a serious knowledge partner.
I'm sorry?
It's all a matter of stalemate, where all of them stand together. There's no way one, yeah, it's a matter of all of them synergically working between the planning department, all those, let's say, plan, as you rightly brought out, if we have this one corridor of development being planned, the road connectivity, water connectivity, offsite infrastructure, power lines, telecom, if they can take that on the on-site, whatever the area, 10 acres, 100 acres, 200 acres, the developers can do a good job. But that's not happening. So the stalemate is what is required of putting that together.
Right. We'll go to Neeraj for a concluding comment.
Sure. Sure. I mean, my last thought would be that the direction's right, but the pace and the targets that you set itself. So targets are smaller, and milestones in that side of it, and the pace is slow. And I would say that if I just broke it into two other parts, so one is affordable housing. I mean, it's clearly an opportunity missed again, and something which would have helped. I would say from a general popular sentiment also, it would have really helped in that sense of it. And when you look at the residential segment part of it, I mean, I think still some hope lies because of the fact that as happens in India in that sense of it, real estate is a very sentimental subject as well, and I think we've kind of hit the nail a bit to say that we have given additional incentive of 1 lakh rupee. So there are, I would not say fence sitters in that sense of it, but certainly people who were looking to invest,
it will boost them.
Boost them to kind of get the one more step to do it earlier, than what they would do later.
We have a consumer who's on the same lines. The consumer is Sonika Kapoor, who says that what are the safest investment bets in the real estate sector given the current political and governance environment? And her second part of the question is, what states in India have gone beyond policy hardliners and delays and are flexible to encourage investor sentiments? Do we, are policies actually geared to boosting that investor sentiment? Maybe like you said, the affordable housing, that 1 lakh, doesn't really have any big material use, but it would affect sentiment.
The direction of the interest rates, just seen a little bit of reduction here and there, and it's expected that that will go a little further as well. And the fact that this reduction comes in there, it just kind of says that you may just want to invest it now, then later kind of a environment around it there.
So probably it's not gloom and doom because that didn't come through the budget. So while the budget has given a direction where it's not taken away anything and has not given substantial amounts, but the FM and the rest of the government is probably geared towards allowing the industry to function, right? One last query from somebody called Sandeep Khemka, who says that I have done a deal to sell my flat for 1.8 crore. The finance minister has levied 1% TDS on property transactions of more than 50 lakh. We will be doing the registry in April 2013 as the buyer is applying for a loan. There are two buyers, a husband and wife, and the seller has 4 brothers. Will TDS be deducted?
Of course.
One will have to really look at the
That's what I'm
sign.
saying. It's a
50
complete.
it will be done.
I'm sorry?
If the transaction is more than 50, it will be done.
Yeah.
It's the
And yes,
transaction value and not the per capita.
so you, it's not
It has
breaking
the
up
value of
the,
the property,
yeah.
whether it is shared by 5 people or 10 people or 2 people.
Then 5 people will be deducting tax according to their proportion.
Yes, of course.
So if
Suppose you are 2 people.
HUF is there or a family with a husband and wife, they will be separately deducting the tax, and I mean it's going to be quite a nightmare.
Yeah.
But suppose it's a company, the company will deduct. Suppose it's an individual will deduct. Suppose it's a partner, two by
Whatsoever partners they will get
Yeah.
deducted.
Will it have impact on rental transaction and large volume rental transactions as well?
No.
No.
The rental goes beyond 50 lakhs?
This
Anyway,
is
then,
this is only for
Sale.
registration.
Sale.
Sale.
Rental is already subject to TDS.
That's
There
only
is
for
one-
corporate, for an individual, it's not.
No.
Yashree,
There is-
can I go now?
We just conclude. Just one more query from a consumer. Since we've addressed all the other issues, I thought the consumers who raised, and they have been writing in to
Okay,
us.
sure.
This consumer says, how is the real estate market expected to enhance work for valuation consultants who work with different banks, financial institutions and corporate? Will there be a valuation opportunity because of whatever has been given in the budget? The second one is, are there any direct implications of the budget on the capitalization rate and discount rate of real estate projects?
Valuation opportunities, we do that for a living. Valuation opportunities are not going to go up or down just on this budget, on the budget. And secondly, the second question was on the discounting rates and other things. I'm not sure whether there is going to be a major impact of the budget on the
No,
on the
rates are
discounting
not
rates.
going to be, down or any discount. Because there is no such relief. There are two types of relief. One relief which the developer or the supplier can get. Another what the consumer can get. So there is a distinct difference between the two. Suppose consumer gets some relief, then demand is created. Suppose the developer or supplier gets relief, then supply is increased. This is just like that. So in this case, both are at equal. So there is no question that rather sometimes the common buyers or beneficiaries, they are at lower hand because of this transfer of property tedious system.
Jayashree, on the valuation, there will definitely become lot of interesting opportunities because if you see the opening remarks by the finance minister talked of 3 things: FDI, FII, and ECB to come in a big way.
Right.
And if this is now already is going to come for housing and real estate in a big way, one of the major components that will come for any institutional investor or a foreign direct investor group like our group has got, valuation is a very, very important component.
Yes, absolutely.
So there is the direct answer is it will come definitely, and also in high value property development coming into the city, everything will depend on what is the valuation of the land. It's not a matter of we're going to 50% of the total cost, 70 or 80 or 95 or 99% of the cost will be only on land and valuation, isn't it?
Yes.
So there is still potential. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining us, and we would be reaching out to you individually, probably sending you a few questions so that we could put up these interviews on websites. This is going on timesofindia.com, et.com, ET Realty will be publishing on Tuesday and on Friday, and of course on magicbricks.com on our property sites. This will be regularly published, and it is an ongoing discussion.
Jayashree, before I close, on behalf of all the panelists, what do you think of this budget?
It's a glass of water, half full.
Dr. Sharma says
Give me one word.
I would say that it hasn't taken anything away.
Excellent, good, average, bad. So where did you put it?
Average.
Average.
Mine is below average.